Hey gang, I got an offer for you today from LinkedIn. As business to business marketers, your needs are unique. B2B buying cycles are long and your customers face incredibly complex decisions. Isn't it time you had a marketing platform built specifically for you? LinkedIn ads empower marketers with solutions for you and your customers. LinkedIn ads allow you to build the right relationships, drive results, and reach your customers in a respectful environment. On LinkedIn, you have direct access to build relationships with decision makers. Of the 875 million users on the network, 180 million are senior level executives. 10 million are C-level executives. You will also be able to drive results with targeting and measuring with their tools built specifically for B2B. And best of all, they work. Audiences exposed to brand messages on LinkedIn are 6 times more likely to convert. LinkedIn ads also rank #1 for security, community, and ad experience as part of the Business Insider's Digital Trust Study. Make B2B marketing everything it can be and get a $100 credit. It's a $100 credit on your next campaign. Go to linkedin.com/MPN to claim your credit. It's linkedin.com/MPN. Terms and conditions apply. Cool.
So I first contacted the White House. I went through like those kinds of channels and kind of got shut down, which, not surprising, but rude. Like I'm
Yeah,
thinking, hey, if LeBron James can meet the president, Papa Bill should meet the president. No offense to LeBron,
absolutely. Yeah.
but if LeBron can go to the White House multiple times, then why not Papa Bill?
Entrepreneurs Enigma is a podcast for the ups and downs of entrepreneurship. It's about the wins and the fails that we all face being entrepreneurs, and how we learn from adversity. Every week, I talk to a different entrepreneur with a story to tell. I'm Seth Goldstein. Come with me on the journey. This is Entrepreneurs Enigma. Let's get started. Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of the Entrepreneurs Enigma podcast. I am here with a dear friend of mine, Debbie Goetz of Debbie. Is it DG Media Connections or is it
Debbie
Debbie
Goetz
Goetz?
Media Connections.
It's just the URL is DG
Yep.
because it would just make it that much longer. So Debbie is a PR powerhouse. The spots she gets for her clients in the news is incredible. And she's a sweetheart, and she just helps so many people out. I love Debbie clearly, and she's been a good friend of mine for I think we're going on like 5 or 6 years now.
Oh, it's longer than that. When did you join the
Longer.
chamber?
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, 'cause I met you were one of the first people I met at the Chamber of Commerce. You're right. So it's been like 12 years. Yeah. Oh, we go way back. So Debbie, how did you get into PR? Like, what's your origin story?
So I evolved into PR. When I grew up, I wanted to be a stockbroker. So I went to college and got a bachelor's and a master's in finance. But the job market, the salaries, starting salaries when I graduated from college in for brokerage houses were like really pitifully low and you couldn't
Oh wow.
like live on them. So I just went down a different path and I eventually got married and moved to Philly and finished my master's here at Temple. And I had kids and I worked part time as a consultant, a small business consultant for the Temple Small Business Development Center, the SBDC, consulting startups and businesses and helping them write business plans and whatnot. And eventually I did a whole bunch of part time work just to, bring some extra money into the house while my kids were growing up because I was a full time mom first. And I started working for a virtual assistant firm and I was doing a lot of like marketing-ish kind of stuff for B2B service providers, attorneys, and different kind of businesses. And a situation came up. I was a part of a local chamber of a little like local business group in my township, and it was called the Greater Jamison Business Association. And people that met me there that were active in the community sought me out because we had a little incident, a little big
Ooh.
incident with a sports bar that decided one day to serve legs and eggs,
Ooh.
AKA go topless. Now, I live in Warwick Township in Bucks County, Pennsylvania. Little sleepy town. We've got
Yeah.
3 elementary schools and we've got a number of churches and daycares and whatnot. And like I said, small township, no place for a topless bar. I mean, there's a
Yeah.
church like a quarter of a mile away, a daycare like right there, a school around the corner. So these community leaders asked me to get involved and get the media involved in this story. And I did. And it was a big story throughout the region, and all the TV crews came out. And I
Wow.
started to make connections that
Mhm.
way. And we literally drove them out of town. A new
Nice.
family came in and bought the place and they've opened other restaurants throughout the region. The Freight House, is that what it's
Yeah.
called? No, what's the one at the Doylestown train station?
That is a freight house.
Yeah, the Freight House, and they have one in Wycombe or something. Like, they've spread their
That's
joy
awesome,
everywhere.
yeah.
So, happy ending there. Made a lot of connections. Had another situation come my way where they were taking away busing for some kids at a local elementary school, and the parents were outraged because they had to walk on a road. I don't know if you know Burnhouse Hill Road at all, but they have
You don't even ride a bike on
sidewalks.
that road, yeah.
Exactly. So they staged a drive-in where, like, all the parents from the affected communities drove their kids to school and caused a lot of gridlock, and I had the TV crews all come out and,
Oh, so sort of
so
like Groveland, where my kid goes, it's good luck
yes.
regardless, but you can't walk to the school 'cause on
Yeah.
611.
It
It's a
wasn't
very hyper local,
Groveland, but
everybody, but it's we
yeah.
both live for a little background for the listeners, Debbie and I live in the same area, so it's a little hyper local on the areas, but it's the general thoughts, Debbie is a rock star.
So anyway, so there were these community pushes, and I just started to make connections and build my network with journalists and TV reporters and news stations and whatnot. And I started thinking about going to work for another PR company, and I put some feelers out in the area. And the head of a networking group I belonged to at the time, and one of my journalist friends just said, "Hey, you got it going on. Just go out and do it." So I
Really,
set up,
instead the
yeah,
PR company said, "Just go do it."
yeah, yeah.
Wow.
hmm And I'll give snaps right now to Gina Rubel. She's
Yeah.
the founder of Fury Rubel Communications, and they're a
She's
full fledged
fantastic,
marketing
yeah.
agency in Doylestown. And she's been a mentor to me through my whole PR career. And she's wonderful. And they refer business to me because
Oh,
I
that's
like to
awesome.
joke with her that they do 5 figures and up, and I do
Yeah,
0
exactly.
figures and up. Yeah. So they refer the smaller work that's not in
Mhm.
their
That's
wheelhouse to me.
awesome.
So anyway, that started back in 2010 and continued to expand my network and work with small to mid-sized businesses, nonprofit organizations, individual professionals who wanted to expand their cred, so to speak,
Yeah.
and raise their profiles, communicate better.
You kind of were like through some community actions, you found your entrepreneurial spirit. I mean,
Yep.
you probably already had it in there, but because being a mom is entrepreneur, being the mom, being the caregiver while the other caregiver goes to work or whatever. Not doing gender roles here or anything like that, but like the primary caregiver during the day. I mean, that's entrepreneurial. You have to think outside the box constantly. So
Yep.
clearly you had the knack for it.
Juggle a lot
And
of
then
hats.
a lot of hats and a lot of babies.
Yep. 3.
Exactly. 3
And
babies.
I'm a true multitasker. My oldest is 28 and I have twins
I
that are
know.
23. So I'm a true multitasker.
Yeah, seriously. So that's the thing when you think about being entrepreneurial is when you have so many young kids and 2 of them are the same age, you have to be entrepreneurial. You have to think outside the
Yep.
box. So
Yep.
I know this is probably different when you were a mom, when your kids weren't quite self-sufficient. But what is the most important thing to carry with you all the time? I'm sure a diaper bag when you were younger.
Oh, you mean literally carry with
No,
me or
or figuratively,
intellectually?
you can go as deep as you want on this.
Well, I never go anywhere without tissues and my inhaler and my lip balm.
Yeah.
So if
The
you
yeah,
wanna know literally, that's what's in
yeah.
my handbag. Figuratively, I think I've learned through this journey never to fear failure,
Mhm.
because even when we fail, we learn something. And
Yeah,
I try not
exactly.
to think of failure as failure. I think of it as a teachable moment or a learning moment. So
I think
that
that's
goes with
great,
me.
yeah. I
Yeah.
think that's a great thing to have is because being an entrepreneur, especially being an entrepreneur like we are, kind of self-taught, self-figuring stuff out, self all that stuff, you're gonna fail. You're gonna
Yep.
make mistakes, you're gonna trip, you're gonna stumble, you're gonna fall down, you have to dust yourself off and get back up.
Yep.
So, when you were, went full force into Debbie Goetz Media Connections, how old were your kids at that point?
So my oldest was 17
Alright, so
and my twins were 12.
12. Alright, so they weren't babies.
No.
So
And I
you were
work
able
from
to kind of
home.
you're able to, like it wasn't like you were juggling a more advanced entrepreneur mommy job because that's more teenage years, which is
Yeah.
challenging.
I work from home and no matter what I do, I'm always a mom first, and that never changes. You can tell your wife. It
Oh,
never
absolutely, yeah.
changes no matter how old your kids are. You're a mom first for the rest of your life. And so I could be at their soccer games and their track meets and their
That's
basketball
awesome.
games and their softball games and little
Yeah,
league and all that kind of stuff. And so I enjoyed that flexibility.
and that's I
Um,
guess that's one of the best things about being an entrepreneur is that flexibility that
yep.
you can, like, say, "Oh, kid's sick. Hey, guys, I know we have a meeting today, but
Yeah.
can we push it off
Sorry.
a little bit?" Like,
Yeah.
the kiddo is sick right now, or go deal with he or she and put them down for a nap, and you get on your call because guess what?
Yeah.
You don't have to drive to an office. You just go downstairs, you sit in the
Right.
hallway, whatever. It's fantastic. What's the scariest thing about being an entrepreneur that you think?
Oh, the uncertainty of business coming in. The COVID year was a slower year.
Yeah.
And, you couldn't in good conscience really keep going after people because everybody was in flux. Businesses were closing. So you just I was fortunate enough that most of my primary clients still were doing work. Some of them were doing less work. So they maybe
Mhm.
went from retainers to hourlies and things like that. But yeah, not always knowing where the money is coming from is always a scary thing.
Yeah. We're gonna take a quick break, hear from our sponsors, and get right back to the show.
Hey there, it's Jason Falls. If your company or maybe one of your clients sells to marketers, you look for advertising channels that guarantee business marketers are paying attention, right? Let me introduce you to the Marketing Podcast Network. You're listening to it right now. It's a network of podcasts all about marketing. So 100% of MPN's audience are marketers. Reach them by advertising on the Marketing Podcast Network. Learn more and find our media kit at marketingpodcasts.net.
I've prided myself on working with businesses and individuals and organizations that strive to make the world better. And you
Yeah.
don't have to be a nonprofit to do that. I work with
Yeah.
for-profits, but they have a philanthropic arm because that
Mhm.
kind of work is more rewarding and more fulfilling. And
Mhm.
I really enjoy that. It's not a be all end all. I work with lots of companies and organizations that
Mhm.
aren't doing philanthropic things, but I do enjoy that the most.
And being an entrepreneur and owning your own business, you can pick and choose who you
I
work with.
do. I am selective about who I work with,
Mhm.
and I've gotten burned over the years by
Yeah.
some people and some clients. Even like a law firm a couple of years ago who
It
just
happens,
decided,
when you least expect it, it happens, and you're
oh
like,
my
sit
God,
there and you
Seth.
scratch your and you sit there and you scratch your head, and you're
Yeah.
like,
I
"What
couldn't
the
bring
heck?"
you into this project, and thankfully I didn't because they got to a point where they decided that they had paid enough, and we had done
Oh,
all the
that's the
work.
worst, and you sit there as
They
an
said, "You know what?
entrepreneur,
We've paid enough. We're not paying you anymore." And what am I gonna do? Go after a law firm? Take 'em to small
yeah.
claims court?
Yeah, at that
Yeah.
point, and then they know they got you, and you're like you sit there, you're like, "That sucks."
They'll appeal things and drag you through the mud, and it'll cost you so much more to fight them than
Then
to
you just
just
walk
give
away with
them walk
lick your
away.
paws, yeah, lick your
But,
paws,
that left a really, really
yeah.
indelible mark.
Lee.
Yeah.
And that's the
So,
thing, there's good and bad in entrepreneurship, and, you have to make sure that you might, speak softly, but carry a big stick at times,
yep. And now I have a beautiful contract.
and
I
that's I think
use
the hardest thing was when you first start out, you don't value the contract as much as you really need to.
Yeah, but, you're starting off and you're,
Ego,
keeping
yeah.
expenses low and what have you.
What is the most rewarding thing you've done?
So I did some PR for a home healthcare agency a number
Mhm.
of years ago. They had a client who was 104 and they were
Wow.
having a big birthday bash for him and they wanted the TV crews to come out and cover it. And their congressman was there and their state representative was there and it was a big to do. And
Yeah.
we had all the news agencies out there and it was fun. It was wonderful. And his name was Bill Moore.
Mhm.
And he was a sergeant in the United States Army. He had a beautiful little wife, Josie. And she was 98, I think, at the time, or maybe I forget, but maybe 96. Anyway, fast forward a couple of years, I did some more PR for the healthcare agency when he was a Veterans Day guest at a local elementary school, and then when he was 108, his
108.
his granddaughter approached me and with a phone number and said, "My grandfather wants to meet the president." And she gave
Oh.
me his daughter's phone number. And I said, "Well, by golly," and I called him Papa Bill. "By golly, if Papa Bill wants to meet the president," and this was in 2016.
Yes.
If Papa Bill wants to meet the president, by golly, Papa Bill's gonna freaking meet the president, and I'm gonna be
Yeah.
right there by his side,
That's pretty cool.
So I first contacted the White House. I went through like those kinds of channels and kind of got shut down, which, not surprising, but rude. Like I'm
Yeah.
thinking, hey, if LeBron James can meet the president, Papa Bill should meet the president. No offense to LeBron,
Absolutely. Yeah.
but if LeBron can go to the White House multiple times, then why not Papa Bill? So I started following my legislative connections and going through
Mhm.
those channels. And ultimately, and I learned a lot about government through this process
I bet
because
you did.
when
Yeah.
you've got a D in office, your best bet is to find a D legislator
Mhm.
to help you make things happen. So through Senator Casey's office,
Yeah.
I was able to secure a visit for Bill to the annual White House Veterans Day breakfast in
Oh.
November of 2016, which he attended with his daughter and his son. I was not able to go to the breakfast, but he attended. He became Nancy Pelosi's favorite thing on earth, and she couldn't stop
Oh.
taking pictures with him and tweeting photos and all
Oh
day
my
long.
God.
And
Wow.
I have this amazing photo of him with President Obama, and they were
Oh.
sharing a laugh. And I get goosebumps every time I tell this story. I have them right now. President Obama was shaking his hand, and they were sharing a laugh over their mutual love of Campbell's soup because he
Oh
asked
wow.
Bill what his key to longevity was. And he said, "I have Campbell's chicken noodle soup every day." And the president said, "Oh, I love Campbell's chicken noodle soup too." To
That's
which
awesome.
I tweeted out to Campbell's soup about Bill, and Campbell's soup tweeted about Bill. So Bill's story,
Wow.
Bill's visit to the White House.
That
So
should be a book.
right. I drove down to Washington with the family. And the day before his visit to the White House, we had a big welcoming for him with Congressman Fitzpatrick's staff and Senator Casey's
Wow.
staff and the VA and you name it. People came to the World War II Memorial to welcome him. And along with him, them, and the TV crews was a correspondent from CBS News, like a national
Wow.
correspondent,
There you
Craig
go.
Boswell. He was covering former President Trump has visited the White House that day, and he was
Oh
covering that.
jeez.
So they sent him over to the memorial, and he did a beautiful, heartwarming story,
Oh,
which is on my website,
yeah.
about Bill. And Bill made the national news on all networks that night.
That's
Everyone was talking
awesome.
about him. Yeah.
Well, 108 World War II veteran, 108 gets to meet the president, you know,
Yep.
and
So
yeah, that's
that
fantastic.
was a bucket
That's
list
awesome.
item for him that I made come true.
That's a bucket list.
And
That's like a bucket list item for you for your business to get someone to meet like that's awesome.
yeah. So anyway, that was a giant project from the heart.
That's
And
awesome. So Debbie, where can people find out more about you? Where's your first off? Where's your hangout online? What's your favorite spot to hang out?
my website's www.dgmediaconnections.com.
There you
I'm
go.
on Facebook. I'm on Instagram, but I'm on Instagram more with
As
my
Debbie.
cats. No, my
Oh.
cats have their own. It's called
Oh.
Bear Bear and Moosey Moose.
Oh.
I do more. So I'm on Instagram on on my desktop for Debbie, and I'm on Instagram on my phone for Bear Bear and Moosey Moose because I'm always posting pictures of our four. I'm a crazy cat lady. I left that out of my bio. I'm on
You love 'em.
LinkedIn. Yeah, I do a lot on LinkedIn.
Had some big stories that you've
Yeah.
wrote about, like, not just big stories, like, I know people in PR, that tech PR that cover, like, Theranos and cover, like, all that kinda crap. But at least the stuff that you highlight and let people know about
Yeah.
is all, like, the really good stuff, even all the way down to keeping the titty bar out of
Yeah.
Warwick.
Are you allowed to say that on your podcast?
Hey, it's my podcast. I can say whatever I
Okay.
want.
No titty bars in Warwick Township. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Debbie, thanks for being on the show. It's so much fun that,
Thank you for
this is
having me.
great.
Thank you.
That was a great show. Hey, if you're enjoying Entrepreneurs Enigma, please give us a review on the podcast directory of your choice. We're on all of them. And these reviews really help others find the show. Also, if you're getting value from the show and want to buy me a coffee, go to the show notes and click on the link to help me stay awake while I bring you more great episodes to your ears. That's in the show notes, and I look forward to the next episode. Take care, guys. Goldstein Media hopes you have enjoyed this episode. This podcast is one of the many great shows on the MPN Marketing Podcast Network.
You may know you're listening to this show along the Marketing Podcast Network, but did you know there are other great shows on MPN to help your business? T. Adeola hosts a great podcast called Tiny Giants. T, tell us what these fine folks will get out of listening.
We are the creator economy show that's about careers, not celebrity. Right? So who should listen to this show are the parents of young people who want to know more about the creator economy and why that's a career path for their children, or the young people themselves.
Amazing. Where can the young people or the parents subscribe?
You can find us at tinygiants.tech or wherever you get these podcasts, these fine podcasts. And you can also find us at the Marketing Podcast Network, which is marketingpodcast.net.
You heard him. Go subscribe. This podcast is heard along the Marketing Podcast Network. For more great marketing podcasts, visit marketingpodcasts.net.